My name is Neil Patel, and I help companies generate more revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park, and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped them generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. It's going to be a fun day. We're going to be talking about the new approach to SEO. In essence, a lot of people are wasting their time on SEO, and we want to make sure today you guys aren't wasting time on SEO anymore, and you're doing it the correct way, because the old strategies just don't work anymore. So I'm going to be presenting, as well as Rob and Kimberly. Rob, do you want to give a quick introduction of yourself, and then Kimberly go next?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Rob Tandula. I'm the director of SEO at NP Digital. Been in the SEO space for over 10 years. I've worked on all different types of companies and all different types of niches, and I'm really excited to share this presentation with you today.
Hi, everyone, and I'm Kimberly Deese. I'm our Director of Digital PR over here at NP Digital. I've been with NP Digital for over 5 years and helped this department grow and the solutions that we offer here expand. I've also been in PR and digital marketing for over a decade. And I'm so excited to dive into how you can leverage digital PR tactics in modern SEO.
Awesome. And Kimberly, for those who don't know, do you want to give a quick overview of what digital PR is and how it helps with SEO, just so that way the audience knows today?
Certainly, yeah. Digital PR spans all sorts of different tactics that can fall into link building, data-driven content marketing, influencer marketing, organic social media, and traditional PR and corporate communications. And there's many different benefits that it has. Some of them directly support organic keyword rankings. Many of them support brand awareness and new user acquisition.
Cool. So let's dive right in. We're NP Digital. We have tons of awards, work with a lot of big clients. We're still growing even in a bad economy. I think we will hit 1,000 employees this year is what it was looking like, which is what someone told me earlier today. Now, let's really get started. One quick fact for you guys, there's 8.5 billion searches on Google each day. But yet, the majority of the web pages on Google get no traffic. Just think about this. When you do a search, most cases you're clicking on page 1 and you're clicking on the top results on page 1, but you very rarely go to page 2 or 3, and it's almost never, not really never, but close enough to never, that you go to pages 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a ton of pages that are indexed. And literally, majority don't get traffic. But it's for these 4 main reasons. Number 1, they're missing or they just have really bad optimization, whether it's of their content or on-page SEO elements. It's just people a lot of times don't really optimize. Number two, a lot of people use outdated tactics like keyword stuffing and saying like, oh, we need to build tons of rich anchor text links for this page. And we constantly see this in the marketplace. Also, there's still a lot of companies that don't know or understand SEO. And people really believe SEO is like, oh, you do it one time and you're good to go. It's like a car oil change. You just do it every once in a while and you're okay. Sadly, that doesn't work. Maybe 7-8 years ago, actually, even then, that really wasn't the case, but more people had that misconception back then. It's more so that you continually need to update to do well. Now, we looked at 10,000 websites for fun, and we found a lot of interesting stats. So when we were analyzing 10,000 websites, we were looking at websites that were popular. We found that 3.28% of the web pages on a website, excluding things like the about page or contact page or even like the home page, it contains 3.28% of a website contains little to no content. And when I say little to no content, I'm talking about less than 100 words. And these pages are not likely to do well. And 4.71% of the web pages we found broken links on or old outdated content. Again, these pages aren't likely to do well. And 60.29% of the web pages had no backlinks. Again, pages that aren't likely to do well. And the last one was 35.22% of the web pages had only one or no internal links. If you create content, you create new pages. If you're not cross-linking within your own content, they're not going to do well either. SEO isn't the dodo. It's not going extinct. It really is evolving, and it's been evolving at a rapid pace. Most people don't know this, but Google's making multiple algorithm changes per day on average. The last number that I believe I saw on Search Engine Land was something around 8 or 9 algorithm changes per day. You hear about these big algorithm changes that they're publishing, but they also publish small ones on a daily basis. But to show you that SEO isn't dying, we looked at 35,599 sites over the last 4 years. And in January 2024, when we gathered this data, we saw that the average website grew in SEO traffic by 100 or 9.83%. So they went from 100 to 109.83%. This may not be as fast growth as you want, but there's some sites that do really well in SEO and they're seeing 40, 50, 60, 100+% gains. There's some sites that aren't doing well and don't focus on it. But the average site saw a 9.83% increase in search traffic. This just shows you SEO isn't dead. Danny Sullivan, who's Google Search Liaison, put out a quote there. Google has driven more traffic to a website each year since its inception. Because a lot of SEOs and marketers are complaining, saying, hey, you guys are taking away my clicks. There's not always 10 blue links on a page. And he's like, we're still driving more traffic than we used to. And the quote came out because a lot of people were complaining, being like, it used to go from 10 blue links to now there's SGE and rich snippets and all these other things that are pushing down our traffic. But that doesn't mean that Google's not driving more traffic to web pages. They're trying to improve the experience, which has caused more people to use Google, which has caused more people overall to go to your website. Now, organic search is going to change in a big way. We started talking to marketers about SGE, and we were trying to get their feedback on what they think, right? We have our own input as well, but we want to know what the general audience, we surveyed thousands of marketers. Most marketers believe it will have an impact. Quite significantly. Does that mean it's going to drastically decrease or increase traffic? Time will tell, and it's also going to vary for different keywords and industries, but this should also increase the number of people using Google, just like their previous changes. But here's what's funny. When we talk to them about how they're actually working on preparing for SGE, the 4 top ones were they're working on user experience, they're increasing their focus on content creation, they're investing more in technical SEO, and they're looking at things like AI and machine learning to improve their results as well. So there are ways to prepare for SGE as well, and you can see some of them here. But if you prepare for SGE, you could be better suited than the competition, and maybe you can gobble up some of their traffic, because a lot of marketers from what we've talked to so far aren't really preparing for SGE yet. They hear about it, they see it, but the reality hasn't kicked in for a lot of marketers in SEO. And this all just means these outdated tactics that people are doing, keyword stuffing. Yes, you should still do keyword research, but stuffing that keyword in there 10 times isn't necessarily going to make you rank higher. And copying the competition, which is still what a lot of SEOs do, isn't the key to winning. Or building unnatural link profiles isn't the key either. Google stated link building isn't in the top 3 tactic. Do you need to do it? Yes. Is it really important still? Yes. But when you look at link building, it's not a top 3 factor for Google. But here's the kicker. You still need links. If someone ranking above you has 1,000 links and you have 100, it doesn't mean that you need 1,000 links to outrank them. Maybe 100 is fine. Maybe 50 was enough and you didn't even need 100. Maybe 150 is the right number, right? But building more links in the competition doesn't guarantee success like it used to. Is it still important? Yes. And I know I said that a few times. I'm trying to really emphasize that because I don't want you guys to stop building links. But there's more to SEO than just link building. And shortcuts don't work. We've been seeing a lot of marketers out there being like, oh, look at me, I'm just producing a ton of AI content. In the last few months, a lot of them have got whacked. Not all of them, but a lot of them have got whacked and their traffic just crumbled. Why? Because the content wasn't high quality. Now, Google doesn't care if your content's AI or human written. They care if it's amazing quality and people care for it. But you have to keep in mind, most AI content is regurgitated information. They're taking what's out there on the web, and then they're repurposing it and creating new articles for you based on older information. They're not talking about new cutting edge stuff that you and I can write about. It's harder for AI to do that. But AI is not the problem, right? The real problem is humans that use them need to add in their own expertise, add in their firsthand experience, add in originality. You can modify AI content. From what we surveyed, a lot of marketers don't. They just crank out a lot of AI content. They're like, oh, this is good enough. It's good to go. It's not really the case. And SEO isn't just about traffic anymore. A lot of people are like, I need to rank #1 for this keyword. Well, we found when we did an analysis of our database and the sites in Uber Suggest and Answer the Public, when we started anonymizing, we're scraping the web as well. We found that 86% of the time, more traffic doesn't mean more revenue or more conversions, right? Getting more traffic is great as long as it causes more sales or leads or conversions, whatever your main touch points are. But if you can't get more revenue at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. SEO isn't a game about just getting more traffic. It's a game about driving business results. You have to look at your main KPIs.
So with that, we'll be talking about the new approach to SEO. And kind of like Neil was saying, it's not about ranking for a specific keyword necessarily. It's about helping people out by solving their problems, right? Knowing what they're searching for, knowing what they want, and delivering a web page that answers those questions. And this is important because when you're approaching keyword research, you need to understand that there are a couple different ways to look at keywords, right? They can be informational, right? Who, what, where, when, why. Navigational, looking for a specific web page on a certain website. Commercial, right? Looking for reviews or comparisons. Or transactional, right? Buying certain products or intent to buy keywords. All of these are extremely important because when you're creating your strategy for SEO, if you're trying to get money, maybe you're not going after informational keywords. Maybe you're focusing on transactional and commercial. So understanding the intent behind a keyword is just as important as the keyword itself. This is a great example. You look at a high volume keyword, right? Almost 10,000 searches a month. But the cost per click is really low, which is a really good metric of trying to see if someone will convert on that keyword versus something like, a keyword that has 30 search volume, but the cost per click is really, really high, showing that it's a high intent transactional keyword for someone who wants to convert. This is a very common thing as well in the B2B space, right? Sometimes the keywords that you want to go after as a B2B company could be 10 or 20 searches a month, but that yields you all of your conversions. So I think a lot of times SEOs focus on the vanity metric of search volume is really high. This is going to get a lot of eyes on our website. When in reality, for a lot of businesses, their bottom line is affected by lower search volume keywords with higher transactional intent and higher conversion intent. We've also talked about, sometimes a lot of SEOs will look at the competition and just do, exactly what the competition is doing. But there's a whole untapped market emerging in keywords that haven't been searched yet or that don't have much volume. The example here is COVID-19, right? There wasn't any search volume before that. It was a completely new and emerging keyword. And I think now another good example is AI, right? There are so many emerging things in AI where people haven't even thought of the keywords yet, and there are no competitors doing that. So try and think of ways that you can capitalize on keywords that aren't being searched yet or that will be trending down the line, rather than just copying competitors and kind of doing the skyscraper technique for everything on their website. There's a lot of ways to uncover these new trends as well. So we have a ton of tools that we use here at NP Digital, Answer the Public, BuzzSumo. There are a lot of different tools here that will let you see what untapped keywords there are for your content, get common questions and the search volume surrounding those, frequently searched terms on your website. Using tools like this, again, is a way of making sure that you're answering users' questions and not just doing blind keyword research because the search volumes are high or you think those keywords are relevant.
So we can't talk about SEO without talking about content and the new approach to your content marketing program. We know content is never complete. It's especially true for those top pages. And when we think about the 80-20 rule, your top performing 20 pages on your website are typically driving 80% of your total traffic. And those top 20% of your pages should be refreshed and improved upon, and so they can continue building on their own performance. Even if they're ranking really well and attracting a lot of traffic, they're still top contenders for refreshes. And there's a number of ways you can go about updating that content. You could use insights from a CRO test. You could use insights from user interviews, or you can redesign imagery to modernize it or change it up, or just update the content if there's new or more timely information to include in there. Just make sure that you are continuing to update them, and then you're tracking your performance changes afterwards. So there's a lot of conversation about copycat content out there right now, especially with AI. And we know that content that's performing in 2024 is content that's standing out against other pages and articles on the web on the same topic. Users today have hundreds of choices for every search they create. And if you want them to click on your content and stay on your content, it has to provide something different, better, more engaging than the other pages on that same topic. And it's not just the written content we're talking about here. You can diversify your content against the others with unique imagery, graphic designs, videos, and even the structure of the article to make it more modern and engaging. Another area, Rob mentioned AI, emerging markets there. Things like AI and digital transformation might have low search volume. So creating content around those low search volume keywords so that you're capitalizing on trends in the industry or new offerings that are emerging and just starting to gain popularity. It's a really great way to get ahead of the curve and be present when those searches do pick up. When creating content, you want to make sure you're expanding your keyword universe, not competing with yourself for the same terms. So take, for example, an article on fashion trends for the summer. It's an article you're probably going to want to create every year ahead of the season, but because you're creating it year after year, you could find yourself competing against your own site for the same keywords and even losing traction on the latest and greatest piece that you really want your users to see this year. So a couple things you can do there. Consider setting up your URL structure so that you're anticipating annual content and you can refresh that page with new content versus creating a secondary page on the same topic and keyword focus. We see a lot of brands run into this actually when creating content related to their product page. So take, for example, a beauty brand that sells sunscreen. They probably have a product category page targeting the keyword skincare sunscreen. And they may also want to create editorial content around that topic, put internal links in it to drive back to that category page. But rather than creating an editorial piece targeting skincare sunscreen, they could expand that keyword universe, go after something like sunscreen for mature skin, or a question-based query around what is the best sunscreen for my skin type. So you're widening your possibilities for content, and you're becoming an even greater authority in the space.
Yeah, and one other quick thing, sorry to interject, but what Kimberly's also talking about too is if you have a page on sunscreen or like organic sunscreen, and you have another page on organic sunscreen, it creates confusion with Google and they don't know which page to rank as well. So you don't want to also just keep creating new and new pages on the same keywords, because if your original page was ranking well, but you now have 4 other pages on the same keyword, it creates confusion in Google. And a lot of times your rankings actually drop or disappear. So you don't want to confuse Google. And for that reason, don't create content around the same keywords over and over again on different pages.
Some of you may have competing content already on your site. And so I'll give you some tips on how to handle that and fix up your website here. So what we first recommend is you need to pull the data. You need to understand which pages are guilty of competing against each other. There's 2 tools that we use commonly for this. SEMrush has a cannibalization report feature. And then Ahrefs has a feature called Top Pages, where you can export it, say, into Google Sheets or Excel, use conditional formatting to find those duplicates. And then from there, you can prioritize the duplicate pages that are driving the most traffic and conversions, set plans to refresh those pages, condense any overlapping content, or even create new content that will expand your keyword universe and help you reach more users. In 2024, we're really in the business of working smarter, and with a little AI assistance, you can make this cannibalization cleanup process a bit more efficient for you and your teams. We use this approach for all of our clients that are dealing with cannibalization issues. Typically, when we take this approach, we can see an average of a 13% increase in organic traffic from an effort that's a relatively quick fix, depending on how many pages are competing against each other. So what you'll want to do is take that list that you just created, and then you'll head over to one of your preferred AI tools. We mentioned Gemini and ChatGPT. Both of them work great for this effort, but you can use whichever one you prefer. And then we'll want to share a few prompts with you so that you can take this process by yourself. When you get to the AI tool, here are the prompts that you'll want to use in the order in which you'll want to use them. So if you think that you might have need for this effort, go ahead and take a screenshot of this slide so that you can use it when you're ready to address your competing content. So first, you're going to ask your AI tool to analyze both of the articles that are competing, or if there's more than 2, all of them. Then ask it to outline what are the overlapping concepts between the content pieces. From there, you can ask the AI tool to combine the articles into one, focusing on those overlapping concepts, adding in the unique concepts from both of the pieces as supplementary information, and then ask it to expand on the content. And like Neil said a few slides back, you'll always want a human layer of review and edit to any content that AI creates. You want to make sure the sentences are succinct, the facts are accurate, and it's written in your brand's tone and style. And so AI can certainly help this process be more efficient, but you want to add your own personality, flair, firsthand experiences, all of that into your content too.
And something that we touched on before is you don't always have to recreate the wheel, right? You don't always have to keep building content around the same keywords or just building content, new content in general. A lot of opportunity exists on pages that have had low or declining traffic in the past 6 months, and going back and refreshing those. Google likes to know that content is being refreshed, it's current, it's updated. And sometimes the most fruitful exercises that we do with clients are going back and updating old pieces of content to make them better, improve targeting, and to build, within that piece that already exists. So you don't always have to go out and build new stuff. You can take care of what you have in your own backyard first and optimize that even better.
Yeah, and to give you guys a sense idea, on the Neil Patel website, we spend 90+% of our time updating low performing old content pages. And specifically, we don't just look at which pages are declining in traffic, because I've been blogging for a long time. A lot of the blog posts generate traffic, but they don't generate revenue. So we actually focus on the ones that are declining in traffic that provide conversions or leads in our case, because we're B2B. In your case, it could be B2B leads or sales if you're like e-commerce or B2C. And you would go and update those pages. So you look for declining pages that drive conversions, because when you combine those two, at least you're then focusing your results on growing traffic that drives more revenue.
Another way that you can go back and refresh some of your content is by looking for featured snippet opportunities, right? So either identifying long tail keywords or using tools to see which queries actually return featured snippets. And the best part about featured snippet optimization and opportunities is that's how users are searching for content now. So you can go back and refresh your existing content by looking for these opportunities and optimizing within existing site sections so users find those quick snapshot of answers, and you can be pulled out as a rich result so users can see that directly in the SERP. Kind of like I alluded to before, optimizing for featured snippets is how users consume information today, right? They want direct and concise answers, usually within the first few sentences or paragraphs of your content. The structure should be very neat and clean, right? Using bulleted lists and clear subheaders. Formatting, use bold and italics to highlight key points, and keeping your length nice and succinct. It used to be old school SEO, right? You can write 2,000 words on a subject and you'll automatically rank for it. But now users consume content differently. They like short snapshots, and Google rewards this type of behavior on your content by pulling that out as a featured snippet and putting it directly in SERPs. Implementing schema markup is also vitally important in this day and age. As Neil said at the top of the presentation, there's a large percentage of traffic and pages and URLs out there that don't get any traffic. So you need to help search engines understand what is on your page. And you do that by using schema markup and sending those signals to Google so they can crawl your page, understand the content, and maybe populate what you have on your page as a rich result. So as the library of content on the internet grows bigger and bigger and bigger, you're going to have to do things to stand out. And schema is one of those ways to help both users and search engines understand the content on your page. Another thing that's becoming increasingly important is focusing on user behavior. Google uses this. We've seen based on the antitrust lawsuit that Google really relies on user behavior to shape SERPs and actual web rankings. We've even released a new metric called INP, which is interaction and next paint, replacing first input delay, basically meaning that instead of just looking at the first interaction on the page, Google is looking at all the subsequent actions on that page as well, and using that to calculate and determine what people should see in search results. So not only do you want to focus on your low-hanging fruit content, not only do you want to avoid cannibalization, you want to focus on user behavior and thinking of things like quick scrolls and additional searches that happen on your website to provide that full rounded experience for users when they're evaluating and using your content.
You also want to invest in brand building. It's really one of the most important things that you can do for your SEO program. There is a strong correlation between search demand for your brand and organic traffic from non-brand keywords. But more than that, brand awareness benefits all other marketing efforts as well. It helps with click-through rate. It helps with link building to be more successful. It helps garner more engagement on social media. And the list really goes on and on. We did a study and released earlier this year, last month actually. We surveyed over 1,000 retailers on their priorities for 2024. 37% of them said that building brand loyalty with customers in new ways was their number one priority for 2024. And it's really easy to see why. Brand loyalty brings your customers back, it turns happy customers into brand advocates, and it supports your SEO and holistic marketing efforts. There are limitless opportunities for building brand and deepening your awareness with new customers. Email marketing is still a tried and true channel to form deeper connections with those that are already aware of you. Advertising and influencer collaborations are great ways to expand the network of people who can become aware of your brand. Two others that are very popular for 2024 are branded podcasts and community events. Branded podcasts allow your company and subject matter experts to share their thought leadership with a wider range of people that are interested in your area of expertise. It's a way to nurture those that are currently in your network, make them aware of your offers and promos. Much like blogs, it can also be used as a lead generation tool from listeners and subscribers that are coming to you for the topic, but then forming a connection with the brand, learning more about the brand story behind the products or service, and then converting into customers. We see this a lot with brands like AG1 and Arma Colostrum that are just dominating in the podcasting space. Community brand events are also growing. We've seen in the past influencer-only brand events. They've been going on for a long time, right? But we're seeing a movement now where the audience isn't as tuned into those, and we're seeing brands do events just for top customers or their customers, their community, and those are truly starting to gain traction. I'm based out here in Austin, Texas, and South by Southwest is a prime example of how brand loyalty events are leading to new customers, deeper relationships with existing customers, and giving life to viral moments for the brand online.
And in addition to building brand awareness, something that Google is really focusing on now is experience. You've probably heard of EAT, right? Expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Google recently added a new E to that, right? Experience. And reviews are exactly that, right? They show that users have experience with the product and they're highlighting, important features via reviews. And Google is rewarding that, right? Where you see organic traffic for pages with reviews. The more reviews you have, the better you tend to rank and the better experience that you have for users coming in, because they want to know that someone who has actual experience with this product is leaving a review, has enjoyed that product, and they can find that then that much more trustworthy that they will go on and make a purchase. So all the review updates that you've seen that Google's been making recently all focuses back on that experience component. And it's definitely something to leverage when you're trying to create transactions and conversions moving forward. We've also seen that there are changes directly within SERPs, right? Whether it's SGE or Google Merchant Center or certain shopping carousels, right? Searches with buying intent are surfacing e-commerce listings in a variety of different SERPs and a variety of different SERP features. And this isn't something that's going to change anytime soon with SGE. It's probably going to get even more crowded. There's going to be even more options for users directly in SERPs. But understanding that buying intent is getting surfaced more should help educate your strategy going forward for getting more transactions and conversions. We've also seen, in working with, certain companies that, David can outrank Goliath, right? So in this example, you can see that Rolex is actually being outranked by a non-Rolex site for a product that they sell. I think this kind of goes back to what Neil was saying earlier, right? You could have 100 links, backlinks, you could have 1,000 backlinks, but sometimes you don't need that, right? Sometimes the experience on your website, the imagery, the reviews, the content is enough that you can actually outrank the person or the brand that sells the product themselves. So it is possible in this day and age for David to outrank Goliath, but again, you have to take into account everything we've talked about, from keyword intent, quality of content, reducing cannibalization, and all SEO best practices.
As you all know, SEO is not only about what's working now, but keeping an eye on what's coming tomorrow so you can prepare your brand to be ahead of the curve. For link building, one link building tactic that every brand should be doing is tracking where you're mentioned online but not linked to, and then sending a personalized email to that site asking for a backlink. This is especially important if you're actively building brand, like we just talked about a few slides back. But link building is getting tougher. Sites are more particular about what they'll link to, and there's a lot more content out there competing for the same backlinks. I've been in this industry for over a decade, and the number one thing that I can recommend to you this year is creating content with the intention to use it for link building. That doesn't mean create bad quality content or content that's not for the user. It means know where you want to acquire links from, analyze what they're linking to, then create your content so robust and valuable that they'll want to link to it. The key is truly to provide value. You will not earn backlinks to pages with little content that doesn't add value, or content that's like everything else they're already linking to. One way you can make your content more valuable, more unique, is by niching down. Say you want to build links to an article on budgeting tips. If you target that article to a particular persona, say veterans, for example, now you have a relevance to outreach to veterans organizations, veterans nonprofits, veterans and military blogs. Whereas if it was just a general budgeting tips article, those sites likely wouldn't find it relevant to their audience and they would not link to your content. You can also add in additional pieces to the content, call these linkable assets. Things like calculators, downloadable worksheets, templates, maps, quizzes. These types of things make your content more unique, more helpful, more valuable, and more link worthy. It also can give you the bonus of attracting more users to the content. Say someone's actually searching for budgeting worksheet, not just budgeting tips, and therefore you can attract more users to that same piece of content. Email marketing is still an incredibly good channel to go into. The open rates are historically high. Click rates are very high compared to other channels as well. Email subscribers have already said they want to hear from you. So make sure you're giving them what they want. Anytime you post a new blog post, release new products, or have a brand update, let your subscribers know. Doing this will help you increase your traffic, could lead to backlinks, and also truly helps strengthen the relationship with your network. And this is another slide you'll want to take a screenshot of. Two tools that we use from NP Digital here, Ubersuggest and Answer the Public. They can truly help your SEO program by giving you insights into backlink profiles, competitive insights, and helping to provide data inspiration for new content ideas. They're tools that I know I use every day for our clients, and we do here at the agency.
Yeah, and pretty much, tools we see generating more backlinks than content. So if you can create free tools, do it. There's sites like Code Canyon where you can buy other people's tools, white label them, and put them on your website. And you can also use ChatGPT to help you code up a free tool as well, but you still may need to pay a developer to help you put the finishing touches on it.
Awesome. And we've talked a lot in this presentation about, making sure that you're going back and reevaluating old content, looking for low-hanging fruit opportunities. SEO isn't set it and forget it, right? Once you produce a piece of content, you should look back at it in 3 months, 6 months, a year, and make sure that content is still up to date, relevant, and has all the information that it needs, because things are rapidly changing. So we're going to go through kind of our 6 R's audit, which we'll talk about, the ways that we look back and refresh content. So the 6 R's audit, as you see here, we have things like redirect, reformat, repurpose, refresh, retire, and remain. This is one of the bread and butter audits that we do at NP Digital pretty much when any new client comes through our door, just so we can take inventory of what they have and really capitalize on those low-hanging fruit opportunities before we go out and start building new content on their website.
Sorry for the screenshot. I was like, I should just put this out as a tweet.
So we'll walk through each of the R's individually in terms of what they mean. So the first one is reformatting. So let's say you have a piece of content, but you want to make it even better and more digestible by adding rich media. So you have a how-to piece of content. You can enhance that piece of content by including imagery for each step of the how-to, or maybe a video that goes into detail of how to accomplish that how-to. So rather than just a wall of text on the page, now you have images, videos, and all of the formatting for next steps that makes that content that much more digestible by users, which in turn should help you rank better. Repurposing is kind of similar, but you take existing content and either you spread it across new channels by repurposing it, or ungating it or turning it into rich media. So for example, let's say you have a blog post that is really successful. You might be able to turn that into an infographic or a video or some other form of media that you can share on social channels, or on YouTube or wherever it might be. So taking a really good piece of content and making it available across multiple channels by repurposing that into another form of media. Refreshing, this is the most common R that we recommend when we do audits. A refresh can mean simply tweaking the title tag and doing some better keyword research, or it can mean a full refresh of that content, right? Taking the existing words that you have, adding in certain sections, maybe reformatting it a little bit more, adding in FAQs at the bottom of the page. This tends to be the quickest way to get results on pieces of content that have seen declines. And again, sometimes all it takes is a better title tag and you'll see that traffic shoot up. Retiring. I think this is an overlooked strategy within SEO. If a page doesn't have any traffic, it's not ranking for anything, it has no backlinks, users aren't interested in it, that content can pull the rest of your website down like dead weight. Think of a race car, right? They strip out all the extra stuff. They want it just to be the engine and the car seat and everything necessary to go as fast as possible. Your website's the exact same way. If you have a lot of dead weight pulling your site down, all of your rankings will suffer, and retiring content that isn't useful for users or doesn't have any of the metrics that we talked about can be a really good way of making sure that the rest of your website increases its rank and you pull in more traffic. And then the last one is remain. We have redirect. Redirect is very simple, or very similar to retiring, in that instead of just letting a page 404 or no indexing that page, you 301 redirect that to another piece of content, whether it's competing, right? We talk about internal cannibalization all the time. Sometimes the best course of action there is just to redirect those two pieces into one another and combine them to make one stronger piece of content instead of having two disparate pieces of content. Other times, it makes sense to, consolidate similar content and redirect a handful of URLs into one place. This kind of all goes back to that cannibalization discussion that we were talking about, and redirecting is a very powerful strategy for making sure that cannibalization gets undone and you actually make a stronger piece of content than what you had before. And then lastly is remain, right? And sometimes there isn't anything that you need to do. Sometimes a page is ranking in position 1 for all its top keywords. You have the featured snippet, it has rich media, and that's okay as well. Maybe you remain it for now and you check back in a year and see if those rankings have still remained. But that's definitely a valid strategy as well. You don't always have to tweak things and make optimizations on a page if things are already working. So enjoy your wins and focus on other low-hanging fruit opportunities. This is just a small case study to kind of show the power of what a 6 R's content audit and new content can do for a client that was part of our agency. So we did in-depth research and persona development to understand who their audience is. We did a 6 R's content audit to go through all of their old content and redirect, reformat, and refresh what they already had. And they had a ton of content for us to go through. And we like to do the 6 R's content audit first because it educates what they already have on their website. So when building out new content, we know that we're not doubling up or internally cannibalizing ourselves. So it's like, cool, you already wrote an article on this. Here's a new content cluster that you should rank on that's, different than what you already have on your website. Of course, that was all underpinned by the implementation of technical SEO best practices, like page speed, schema markup, internal linking, etc. And then the results really speak for themselves, right? 1,500% increase in organic search impressions month over month, a large increase in organic clicks in Google Search Console, a large increase in unique queries. So again, simply by pruning your old content and using that as the foundation for building new content forward, you can see very, very powerful results.
So key takeaways, SEO is not dead. There's a new approach. The old stuff doesn't work as well as it used to. You should lean into AI, but not too heavily. Keep in mind it's at its early stages. And even if you're ranking at the top and you're doing well, you still need to maintain and update. And if you don't, you're not going to do well forever. It's eventually you're going to be taken over by the competition. And just leverage some of the new tactics and the data that we talked about today, and you should be much better off with your SEO. We also have a coming up webinar on where the smart money is going. We're going to end up breaking down where people are spending their money on marketing and where they're spending their efforts, but where the real results are. And this will show you opportunities on what most people are doing that's wrong and where people should be spending their efforts. And it's kind of shocking on the data that we have. But you can scan the QR code, you can register. I think you guys will really love the stats. You may hate the direction that you need to go, but you're going to love the stats because they'll show you the changes you need to make within your organization when it comes to marketing to get a better ROI. And if you need help with your SEO, you can always scan the QR code and fill out your information, or just go to NP Digital. We help companies of all sizes. We help them out globally. We're in 19 different countries and we're expanding quite fast. And we're also acquiring a lot of agencies as well. We'll have an agency that we're acquiring that ends up in end of next month. I don't know if we'll announce at the end of next month. So in May. And then we have another one that should be closed in July as well. So let's dive right into some questions.
Good stuff, everyone. I learned quite a bit sitting through this, and there's, as always, lots of good questions. Let's start with you, Neil. With all the recent changes, is it still worth going through your free SEO courses? Do you think that those need to be refreshed, or are those still legit and valid?
Some of them are valid, but I would say we need to refresh them. Some of the tactics still in there are valid, but we need to definitely refresh them. That's a great question. We haven't refreshed them in a while.
Yeah, it's some things now. A lot certainly changing. Let's scroll down the list here. So one for Rob. Should my strategy be vastly updated since the helpful content update in September? If so, what do you think those top things should be to help sort of rebound from the helpful content update?
Yeah, Google gives guidance on this all the time, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but focusing on EEAT is always going to be a benefit, regardless of which updates come out and all the future updates that will come out. Google wants to ensure that expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness appears in every part of your SEO strategy, down from the keywords you're targeting to the content on the page. So I would just caution everyone not to be algorithm chasers, right? Oh, this algorithm came out, now I got to do this. This algorithm came out, now I got to do that. Stick with the best practices, focus on EEAT, and you'll future-proof your SEO strategy going forward, regardless of which update comes out.
Word. So Kim, you're next. I think you probably touched on some of this, but I'm going to ask the question anyhow. What are backlinks, number one? And then is there a general best practice for a good link building strategy? You mentioned unlinked brand mentions and some other things towards the back end of the presentation. If you could just explain for the audience what backlinks are, and then just a best practice sort of Cliff Notes version of a good backlink strategy.
Yeah, backlinks are where other sites on the web are linking to your website or to specific pages on your website. Historically, we had thought the more backlinks of good quality that are pointing to pages on your site, the more it will help those pages rank. And it still plays a role in it, but like Neil said earlier, it's not the end all be all. What I recommend for a solid backlinking strategy, you're going after mentions of your own brand on the web is number one. That's just low hanging fruit that everyone should do. But as you start to get deeper into link building, having good quality content is the number one thing that's going to help you attract organic backlinks or help your success rates when you're putting real effort into outreaching for backlinks. Good quality content is, robust, it's helpful, it's valuable, it's modern, it's engaging, it has imagery. So the better you can invest in your content, the more likely you are to earn backlinks to those pages.
For sure. Let's see here. Neil and Rob, this is a good question. Will this new approach impact all search engines? Will these strategies work well across engines outside of Google? Any thoughts there? Maybe start with Neil, and then Rob, I'm sure you've got lots to say about this.
Sure. So it depends what you mean by all search engines. Airbnb is a search engine as well when you're trying to find a listing. For example, my father-in-law has rental properties on Catalina Island off the coast of California. And he continually optimizes his rental properties on Catalina Island so that when someone searches for Catalina Island properties for vacation homes on Vrbo or Airbnb, he ranks higher at the top. Now, if you're talking about traditional search engines that most of us are used to, Google being, yes, a lot of this is applicable, but there's a lot of search engines that aren't necessarily like Google or Bing. Instagram has a very different search engine, TikTok does, and a lot of people use Instagram and TikTok to find local places. It's actually the younger generation, I think that's Gen Z, uses TikTok and Instagram now to find more local places like to eat than they do with compared to Google.
Yep, agree with everything Neil said. The only thing that I would add is for those major search engines, your Yahoo, Bing, it's kind of a copycat league, so to speak, right? Bing and Yahoo will take a look at what Google does and they try and replicate that on their own site, Google and YouTube, if you want to loop that all together. So yes, the best practices on Google will eventually make their way to those other search engines as well, if we're talking about the main web properties.
Interesting question. So Neil, you mentioned TikTok and Instagram. Someone had a question when we were talking about the 6 Rs. Have we seen any success in refreshing or reformatting or basically editing posts on either Instagram or TikTok and having success there with engagement? So if you post something on IG or TikTok, have we tested anything that says like, yeah, if you go and you make edits to the post, it actually increases engagement? Has anyone ever seen anything like that? I've never even thought of it. So it's a really good question.
Social doesn't typically, great question, but social typically doesn't work that way. A lot of social media is depending on the platform, but a lot of social media is you put it up, gets traffic for a certain period of time, and then people move on to the next new thing. It's the same reason why when you go on Instagram or TikTok, you see these dance videos or these trending videos, but a month later, you may see a little bit about it, but 2-3 months later, you don't really see any of those. People are on to a new trend, a new topic. The bigger thing you can take with social media is look to see what works with one network and you can use it for others. Or if you have some hits, instead of updating it, consider creating a new variation of it and see what that does. And a great example of this is on Instagram, we tend to publish something almost every year where it's like the 5 digital marketing trends for 2024. And it does well. But right before 2025 hits, we usually will post the 5 digital marketing trends for 2025. So rinse and repeat like that. That's worked out quite well for us too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neil. So question for Rob, trick question. And I said I wouldn't ask any trick questions. How do you guys determine monthly search volume? Such a good question. I'm going to let you take a stab at that, Rob, and then I might chime in actually.
Sure. Monthly search volume is interesting because depending on the tool you look at, it's going to be different, right? What you see in Google Trends versus what you see in Ahrefs versus what you see in Moz versus what you see in Answer the Public is all going to be slightly different. I think the important thing to know about search volumes is that it's directional. Don't get too tied to like, oh, this is 100 and this is 150, right? Know that it's a trend, right? That this is a lot more than that. And that will kind of help educate your strategy. The way that Google determines monthly search volume is essentially using clickstream data, and all these other tools that I mentioned do the same thing. So kind of a way of answering around your question is search volumes, yes, they're important. All these tools determine them a slightly different way, but don't get married exactly too much to the numbers. Look at them as directional, and obviously rely on first-party data that you have as well, right? You might see that a term has 100 searches per month, but you go into Search Console and you see that there's like 200,000 impressions for that term. Obviously use that first party data. Search volumes tend to be guesses and directional.
Yeah, good response. I mean, Search Console can be your friend here too, right? So if you can see the impression and you can see the click-through rate, you can kind of do a little bit of math and use that directional data to really inform your strategy. Kim, is there a point where you're updating content too often? Would you recommend kind of a settling in period? If you refresh something, are we supposed to kind of wait a little while for the engines to crawl and pick it up and see if it ranks? Like any tips or tricks there?
Yeah, certainly. One of the slides I mentioned, updating content and tracking performance. So the cadence that you update will depend brand to brand, website to website. But if you're tracking performance, you'd be able to tell a point where things go up or they stagnate, or maybe they go down after the refresh, and then you can decide the best time frame to update again.
Good response. One more, and then we're right at time. And this one goes back to Rob. And another good question. Do you suggest requesting indexing through Search Console after updating a page or refreshing a page, or is it a best practice to resubmit your site after a major algo update, or do you just let the bots sort of do their thing? Any tips or pointers there? That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you're in a rush, if you're submitting individual web pages to get it crawled that day, you totally can. But if you're verified within Google Search Console, your sitemap is up to date and that's been submitted, you can look, Google will crawl that, every other day, depending on the size and number of, pages on your website. So absolutely, if you're in a rush and you just have one page that you updated, you want to get that moving as quickly as possible, you can. But it isn't necessary, again, if you have your sitemap up to date, you're submitted in Google Search Console, that will get picked up fairly shortly.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. If you need help with your marketing, check us out at npdigital.com. We look forward to seeing you during our next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
My name is Neil Patel, and I help companies generate more revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped them generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you.